Tell us a story.
Yes, tell us a story.
Alrighty then, it's cold but dry, so it's not too windy, looking pretty good. At least it's dry. I told you before about the cockers, the two cockers, the male and female that we had way back in the 80s. And the male, he was, like I said, he was suffered from some problems and had some issues, but there were times when, we'd get him chew toys and stuff like that and just find things destroyed. So we started tying old socks together and putting 2 or 3 together and tying a knot in it and having it as a pull toy or a chew toy, but they would get destroyed. I bought one time one of those, it had a loop. It had a loop on each side like an infinity symbol and a big rubber grommet in the center to hold it together. And I thought, well, he can't bite through that because it was twice the thickness of a tow rope, of a pull rope for like skiing or whatever. I mean, it was huge. So it was nearly 1.5 inches, 1 3/4 inches around, that woven high-grade nylon, really thick stuff. And I thought, well, there's no way he can chew this up. So I handed it to him, and he carried it around. He smelled it a little bit, and then I tried to get it from him, and then you know how you play a little bit and stuff. He grabbed one end, I grabbed the other, and we tugged, and I'll be damned if that thing didn't snap in half. And I thought, what the hell? And I got to looking at it, and it was like it was just cut with a blade. I got to looking, and I had him I pulled up his jaws and stuff, which wasn't a fun thing to do because he wasn't real into it and everything, but I pulled his jaws up, and his inside bottom jaw teeth went directly beside his top jaw teeth like scissors. And they were worn on each side, so it wasn't like they met flesh. They met off to the side and was like a shear. No wonder the toys we give him and stuff like that and everything was just destroyed. And we got to thinking, and it made sense that we had a small fence around the back of the yard to put them in so they couldn't get out, and they were getting out all the time. And I went back there and checked it out one day and looked around to see if they were getting under it or whatever. He had grabbed the fence, and I'm talking, it wasn't chicken wire fence, it was the square wire fence for cattle and things like that. So it's pretty heavy grade. Now, it's not as thick as a nail, but it's pretty damn close to where if you cut it with a pair of cutters, I mean, it took some effort, effort. He put his mouth on those, got back to his back jaws, put his snout in far enough in the holes to get back to the back, and he cut them like it was nothing. So these were a little bit thicker than a clothes hanger. Well, I mean, the dog was a power tool. I mean, he was, like I said, he was something else, but he was a power tool. He would cut through and bite through anything. There were times when the two of them together had actually eaten through one of the inside wooden doors to the house the apartment that we lived in. And then when we got our house, they had actually eaten through the wall. Not just any part of the wall, but a wall where there was a lot of studding and stuff, and they had eaten through that, because if you left them alone, they didn't like to be alone, they would act up. I mean, that was crazy. There was a time when the mailman, I guess, the mail lady or mailman, I can't remember which one, had come to the door, and the screen door was there, and then it had a storm door on it, so it had a thick layer of plexiglass, and then it had that curly Q aluminum decorative iron on it. He had actually, when the mailman had come to the door to put the mail in the mailbox, with his weight, remember I told you he weighed like 55 pounds. He was the biggest thing I'd ever seen for a Cocker Spaniel. He ran and hit that and knocked all of that out. The mesh, the plexiglass, the steel, the aluminum grating, the decorative grate, and everything. And they were gone for pretty much all day, just running rampant in the neighborhood, terrorizing people. We moved out of that neighborhood into another one. But I mean, his jaws, the dog was just a treat. I mean, there were times that he was absolutely the coolest thing And then other times when it just like you flip a switch on him, and it wasn't his fault. I mean, dealing with the electrical imbalance in his brain and things, and the chemicals that they had him on, it would just wasn't right. But I miss him. I really do. He was something else. He was one of those things that, you know, you really kind of, you felt sorry for, and you empathy. You felt for him, but he was cool. And when he didn't want to take no stuff, he didn't take no stuff. So, well, we're warmed up now. We're gonna head towards that way and see what we can do today. Yeah, well, we made it to work. I remembered other times, like in the summertime, for the puppies, we'd had a pool, just a little, you know, 9-10 inch deep wading pool, and we'd fill it full of water for them in the summer so that they'd have cool water and something to wander around and lay in, so they could lay in and cool off so they didn't overheat, because they had really thick, long, curly hair, being the cockers, and summertime really they had an issue with it and everything. But remember that we could take, I know now that the candy wasn't good for them, but we used to take the Whopper balls, the little melted malt balls, chocolate-coated melted malt balls, and I know it's not good for them now, but I didn't know back then that was one of their favorite treats. And you could take those and throw one into the pool, and they would dip their head down inside and find it and wallow around, and they wouldn't come up until they found it. You could throw a dozen, 2 dozen in the bottom, and he would put his head down and hold his breath until he found every one. He was just amazing in certain aspects and just unreal. But like I said, I miss the puppies, and I wish that I was in a situation where we could do it. My sister has a little dog, and people have asked about, thanking Mini Dog for meditation. And I'll have to do a little thing and put her out there. And her name is Minnie, M-I-N-I, because she is a super small version of the dog she should be. She was born, had a bone problem, had a growth problem because she was less than a year old, and she got heartworm, and we rescued her. My sister got her as a rescue dog. She wouldn't have lived, and she's put a tremendous amount of money into her, but she has given a tremendous amount of therapy and pleasure to all of us in the family. So I'll have to do something on her someday. So we're here. I'm going to go do my thing. You do your thing. Take care of yours. See ya!
Story time is over!
Damn, that was annoying.